Hi, everybody. So, I am here to do my monthly stream that I've been doing, a monthly video where I talk about the movies that I saw in the previous month. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And I have the chat room open. So, if you have any comments or questions about any of the things I'm talking about, then please put them in the chat room. And I had kind of a weird month of October. There weren't that many new releases that I wanted to see in October, and I only saw 4 new releases in the theater in October, which is not very many for me. And sometimes I'll see that many in just a week. Like this week, I saw Denial, and then I will see Trolls and Doctor Strange all in 1 week. So for me to see 4 in a whole month is really unusual as far as in the theater. I did see some others that I was able to screen at home, so that was pretty cool. But I also had the opportunity to see a lot of movies on the big screen that were re-releases that had been previously released, because my local theater, the Megaplex, if any of you are in Utah, are doing a Silver Screens Classics series where we get to see a bunch of these. There's 10 classic films that they are screening over 10 weeks, and it's pretty amazing. And so I'll be talking about some of those that I saw, and I'll try to do some kind of podcast about some of those films. It hasn't worked out quite like I had hoped it would, but it's all good. It's all just for fun. So we make it work. And the first movie that I saw in October was a new release, and it was Deepwater Horizon. I saw that on October 1st, and I thought this was a really good movie. I thought it was really solid. I'm surprised it didn't do better. I'm surprised that it didn't attract more of the I don't know, typical sort of action kind of crowd. I don't know if maybe it's just because it looked a little solemn or maybe a little depressing, or I don't know. I don't know why more people didn't see this movie. I thought Mark Wahlberg was solid in it. I personally liked Sully a little bit better because I felt like Sully had a little bit more to say about the need for heroes and media. And I thought that Tom Hanks is just so good in it that it was just a little bit better. But I thought that both films were really good. And so, yeah, I thought that they certainly, once the events started going of the Deepwater Horizon explosion, it was very kinetic and you felt like you were there, and they kept it going. And I thought it was really well done. I think I would have maybe made the BP executives a little bit more fleshed out, a little bit more real characters, because they felt a little bit like the big bad corporate greedy guys to me. I would have liked to have heard a little more about their families, or just something to make them a little more human, I think, than just trying to make their goals in this sort of way that they did. That's the only sort of critique I would have. But I thought all the acting was on point, and certainly looked really good as far as if you felt like you were really on this rig with these guys. And so, yeah, I liked it. And so then the next film that I saw, this was on a screener disc that they sent me, which was amazing. It's called Miss Hokusai, and this movie is now available in more cities. It got a pretty big rollout for this small of a film, so I'd check it if you live at all near a bigger city. It might be playing near you. Miss Hokusai, it's what it's called. This is an anime film. It is really beautiful film. It's about this woman in the 1600s who wants to be a painter. She's the daughter of a famous painter. Like, have you ever seen that Japanese painting of the wave? That's Hokusai. And so that's her father who did the wave painting. And they do a really clever job of sort of creating these little vignettes of her life. And because there's not like a solid plot throughout, there's more of these little vignettes. And they do a good job of working in the art into these little stories. So they'll have like a client that will come and will be afraid of sort of the demons in the painting, and you hear a little bit more about what those kind of demons are and what inspired the artist, and you kind of go inside the painting for a little while. And I thought that was really cool. And you definitely get this sense of making art is a sacrifice of your soul in a way. Like you give a little bit of yourself when you make art. And I liked that. I thought that was really good. And my only flaw, and it's the animation is beautiful. It looks great. The music's great. And so my only flaw with Miss Hokusai is that I did feel like there were certain parts that were a little confusing as a non-Japanese historian, that I didn't quite understand what was going on. There's a scene where she kisses a woman, and I was sort of confused about what this meant for her character, what it meant for the time, and why she was doing it. And I didn't mind necessarily that she was doing that, but I just didn't really understand why she did it, and it was confused. So there was just some culturally sort of like, what is going on? It was a little confusing. And so, yeah, that would be my only critique of Miss Hokusai. But if you get a chance to see it, I definitely recommend seeing it and support independent animation if you can. So Reese is on the chat. He says, hello, Rachel. I haven't seen too many movies in October. But if you haven't had a chance to listen to Reese and my discussion of Coraline and Nightmare Before Christmas, I thought it went so well. I was so impressed with his just the discussion that we had, and I thought it turned out great. I was very happy with it. So check that out if you haven't seen that podcast yet. And so the next movie that I saw in October is definitely an unusual film. And it's called The Dressmaker, and there's certain movies that I feel like are sort of better for people who see a lot of movies. Because this movie is so weird. It's so wonky. It's not going to be for everybody. And, you know, I see a lot of movies that are just feel the same, or they feel like they're sort of part of a formula or part of a pattern. And I don't mind that necessarily, but it is so refreshing when you just see something that is just crazy and different and trying its own thing. And so that's why I liked The Dressmaker. And it's got Kate Winslet, and she plays this woman who has sort of forgotten. She sort of have amnesia kind of, and she goes back to her hometown to try to remember what it is that happened. And she had as a child had murdered this other kid, but it had what had happened and why she had done that, and kind of going back to some of those memories. And it's wonky and crazy, and it's complete tonal mess. But I don't know. I just kind of dug it. It was so weird. It was so different. And Kate Winslet is stunning in it. And Hugo Weaving's in it. He's really funny. I thought that Liam Hemsworth was actually super hot in it. He looked great. And and I thought it was kind of cool to have an older woman with, the younger man, and that not made a big deal about it. It was just, because that happens with men all the time, male actors with these younger ingenues. So that was kind of cool in that way. And the setting and the costumes are incredible. And it's sort of like a lot of different kind of movies all sort of meshed into one. It feels a lot like Chocolat at times, with this idea of sort of this foreigner coming in and doing things in a new way and sort of making people sort of aroused and excited. And she kind of does that with her dresses, but then it stops and becomes something different. And so, yeah, it's definitely not for everyone. It does get actually kind of bloody, surprisingly. There's some humor that's a little bit lewd, I guess, but I liked it. I thought it was cool. But it's like I said, not for everyone. And let's see. Reese says, I did see Ice Age 5 Collision Course, and I was very disappointed. And yeah, I enjoyed the podcast a lot. Yay. Good. I'm glad. Yeah, Ice Age Collision Course, it makes me so depressed. The thing made well over $400 million worldwide. $400 million. That's nothing that's a lot of money. A lot of money. I mean, I was looking at the Peanuts movie with how great that was, only made $262 million. So whether we like it or not, the people of the world chose Ice Age 5. Blue Sky is a business, and they have to look at that and say, do we make a sequel for a movie that made almost half of what this Ice Age 5 made, or do we make Ice Age 6? They say they're not going to, but money talks, and that is very depressing. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if we see Ice Age 6. Not at all. It's just they just make so much money. People love these Ice Age movies, and it's frustrating. But whatever. So yeah, I thought that Ice Age 5 was completely forgettable. I wasn't like offended by it, but I just thought it was kind of boring. I didn't really like it. So what are you going to do? Okay, so the next movie that I saw is an animated film, another independent animated film. It's called Long Way North, and this was directed by Remy Shai, and it was really cool. I actually got the opportunity to interview Remy I posted the interview on the website rotoscopers.com, and so I'll put a link down for that interview if you want to read that. It was really cool. I got to talk to him about independent animation and his process and how they came up with the film, the unique style of the film, the unique kind of character that Sasha is in the movie. And it's really neat because the movie has it uses color blocks in a unique way, as opposed to having they're actually, a lot of them don't even have like a fine outline. It's just, you just see where the color kind of ends. It was really creative. It's hard to explain, I guess, but the colors were bright and different, and it just was so refreshing to see something in 2D animation that looked so unique and was new in the world of computer animated films that all start to feel the same. And also, I like Sasha as a character because she is not just some kind of warrior woman. She starts out as this sort of diva, and she gets humbled pretty quickly, but she doesn't get completely, she still has that little bit of aristocratic nature in her, a little bit of a superior sort of nature. And I thought that made her sort of well-rounded and a unique character, but she also is incredibly loyal. She believes in her grandfather. She wants to find her grandfather who went on this expedition. And so she's trying to find her grandfather, and she ends up meeting different people along the way, which I really like, some of these side characters. And they did this all hand drawn animation. They get to the icebergs, and I thought that they spent a little bit too much time on that ship, but once they got there, it was really creative, and they did some different things, and the story went ways that I wasn't expecting, and I thought it was very enjoyable. It may not be a masterpiece, but I really recommend seeing Long Way North if you get a chance. So take a look for that when it comes on stream, or if it happens to be playing by you. Long Way North. It was definitely worth seeing animated film, and don't be surprised if either Miss Hokusai or Long Way North ends up on the Academy Award nominations. I could see either making some headway in there, especially because both of them, Miss Hokusai especially, I think has a good chance because it is released by GKIDS, and they are very, very, very active in their Oscar campaigns, so I wouldn't be surprised at all. And so Tom's on. Hi, Tom. So yeah, that was neat to see Long Way North. And then the next film that I saw is a Hollywood classic. I got to see as part of the Silver Screen Classics series that we're doing. It is Lawrence of Arabia. It was the first one. I actually did get to do a podcast of that with my friend Christine, which was really fun to talk about. I expected this to be sort of a stodgy classic a movie, and because it is very long, it's almost 4 hours, and I thought it would be kind of like your Ten Commandments or your Ben-Hur or something like that, but it really wasn't. It was a lot different. The characters were so great, and the characters were well-rounded. They were interesting. They were kind of crazy at times. I mean, Lawrence was just such a fascinating character. He was so flawed. He was somebody that was not just this sort of like hero. That he was had an ego. He was somebody that you didn't necessarily like, and it just was a great movie. And yeah, we did have Tom saying we did have some technical difficulties on the Lawrence of Arabia podcast. That is true. But I did put in the comment section that that you can go to right where we stopped having those technical difficulties. So let's see, movie reviews to go. It was a snoozer for me. I tried. I really did. Fair enough. It is a long movie. There's no doubt about it. But I just thought the characters were so great. I thought the script was great. I thought the cinematography was great. I thought that the story was really interesting, and I loved it. I really I liked it way more than I thought I would. Lawrence of Arabia. To me, it deserves its reputation as a masterpiece. So there you go. So yeah, and Reese says, actually, one movie I did watch for the first time is Coraline, and I think you know my thoughts on that. Yeah, absolutely. Coraline is so good. It's a movie that gets better every time I see it. I love it. It now I think solidly would make my top 50 animated films of all time. I love it, love it. Okay, so then the next movie that I saw was let's see here. I saw The Huntsman Winter's War. Oh my gosh. I didn't like the first Huntsman movie. I was not a fan. And I thought this one was maybe even worse. This was bad. And what a waste of talent between Jessica Chastain and Chris Hemsworth and Emily Blunt, who I thought was just sort of scowly and kind of bad. I didn't think that she was good in the role, and the whole thing felt like, oh, we're trying to monopolize off Frozen. I didn't really like that, and it just was dopey. I thought it was really stupid. I didn't like it, and yeah, the story was very fragmented, all over the place. Like it starts out as a sequel, and then it's a prequel, and then it doesn't work. And Charlize Theron was the only good thing about the first one, and she's out of this for a long time. And so that's a mistake. And the romance, there was no chemistry between Jessica Chastain and Chris Hemsworth at all. I thought they were just did not work at all together. So that was a big miss, I think, for The Huntsman. Tom says, who even cares about The Huntsman? Exactly. I have no idea. That's another one of this like Alice Through the Looking Glass. It's like the sequel that nobody ever asked for. So let's see here. Reese says, is The Do-Over a good movie or not? No, don't watch The Do-Over. It's horrible. It's my worst movie of the year. And I've seen 9 Lives, and I've seen Norm of the North, and I've seen, The Do-Over is really disgusting, and it's offensive. It's misogynistic. It's not funny. It's awful. Don't see it. Trust me on this one, Reese. It's really bad. Okay, so I need a do-over on Adam Sandler's career. That's what I need. All right, so then I saw another smaller Tom, I thought you loved Norm of the North. Yeah, you know me. Norm of the North is my favorite movie. And so then the next movie that I want to talk about that I saw is called Reese's. It has 4 stars on Netflix, but it's a Netflix original film, so they're very biased, it seems. Who gave that movie 4 stars? It is so bad. Trust me, Reese. I promise you, I would not lead you astray on The Do-Over. It's so bad. I think it's got like 0%, I believe, or maybe like 2% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm looking this up. It's really offensive, and it's homophobic at times. It's the acting is terrible. 5%. It's got 5% on Tomatoes. I don't know what they're smoking over there at Netflix, but it's just bad in every way that you could be bad. It's lazy. It's just an excuse for Adam Sandler to go and on vacation with his friends to Puerto Rico. That's the only reason the movie was made. And people say Rotten Tomatoes is paid by Disney. I know, it's really, even though it's owned by Warner Brothers. Okay, so the next movie that I want to talk about is called Even If I'm a Big Adam Sandler Fan. I don't know. You just asked for my opinion, and I thought it was absolute garbage, but I don't like Adam Sandler. So you'll have to decide for yourself, but that's my opinion. So I thought it was horrible. So, okay. Then I will talk about The Sound of Music. I saw The Sound of Music on the big screen, and it's funny because I have loved Sound of Music my whole life. When I was a little girl, I would just watch it on repeat, like over and over and over and over again. I loved it so much, and I never really realized how long it is. So much I think that shows how much I love it, is that I never realized it was over 3 hours or almost 3 hours. And I love the music, and it is one of the, I think, the best examples of how a movie can actually make something better, because it improves upon the stage musical in pretty much every way. It drops songs that aren't very good. It adds new songs that are much better. And you just have amazing chemistry between Christopher Plummer, Julie Andrews, and and I just loved the scene on the big screen, seeing the whole scope of Salzburg and Austria, and it's just perfect. I wouldn't change a thing. I love all the casting. I love the humor in it. I love the tension in it. I love I love all the songs. 16 Going on 17 is a delight. I love My Favorite Things. It's just one of the greats, in my opinion. I love it. So that is The Sound of Music for you. Yeah, definitely subscribe to Tom. Good move, Reese. He's awesome. Okay, then I was able to see another new movie that I saw this month. It was called Denial. I haven't posted a review. I did review on my blog, but not on this channel. And this movie is one of those movies that's hard not to like, because it's about a really admirable person that faced horrible things. It's about this woman who is the scholar. She's a Holocaust scholar, and she says in one of her books that about this denier named David Irving. Her name is Deborah Lipstadt, and she criticizes David Irving in her book. Well, he brings a libel suit against her because he believes that the Holocaust is a hoax. And so he starts this libel suit. So she ends up having to go over to England and fight this libel suit. Well, the problem with this movie is that they make, I thought, Deborah kind of unlikable. She's just kind of she complains a lot, and you don't see sort of a growth in her character from the beginning of the film. You don't see her start in sort of a weak spot and become strong or whatever, any kind of growth. She's basically the same person at the beginning of the story as she is at the end of the story, I felt like. And I felt like you don't see sort of like they do in Spotlight so well, where Spotlight builds the case bit by bit by bit by bit. But in this film, it's kind of like they got it all figured out, the lawyers. And so it's not really that exciting or thrilling or whatever. And they basically just have this strategy. I felt like the main sort of difficulty for the lawyers was keeping Deborah from talking. Like, that was their biggest struggle. Keep making her shut up. And she's getting all of this legal representation for free, and I didn't feel like she was very grateful. She was very critical of them. She was very whiny, and so I just didn't think the movie worked. I thought the performances were fine and everybody was sort of trying, but I don't know, it didn't, even though the actual true story is admirable as a movie, I didn't think it was very good. So I wouldn't recommend seeing Denial. I didn't really like it, so too bad. And so let's continue on. Then I saw, this is a very random small film, so I'll just talk about it briefly. I saw a movie called Blinky Bill, the movie, and this is out of Australia. It's an animated film. And you know what? It wasn't half bad. If if you can handle animation that isn't 100% rendered, that doesn't look super polished, then I think there's something to enjoy if you just want something to watch for the kids. It's a fun little adventure story. It's got some nice comedy. This is just kids only. It's not great, but it doesn't like offend you or have lots of urine jokes and stuff like Norm of the North. So this is much better than that. But there you go. So anyway, so Blinky Bill, the movie. Australia's gift to the world this year. Okay, moving on. The next movie that I saw in the theaters, I got to see an early screening of Hacksaw Ridge. And this opens this weekend. This is from director Mel Gibson. I know that Mel Gibson is an extremely controversial character, and I know that some people won't see this movie just because they don't agree with him. If you can get beyond that, if you can just view it as a movie and not a Mel Gibson movie, I think that this is definitely worth seeing. It's my second favorite movie of the year, and the cool thing about this movie is that at its core, it's a faith-based film. It's about this person who's standing up for their beliefs and their faith and his own standards, that he is not going to touch a gun, and he has reasons. You find out his backstory of why he won't touch a gun, and he wants to be a medic, and the people think he's kind of crazy that he's not willing to touch a gun and he's going to be a soldier. And so he's sort of conflicted about that, but he's not going to compromise. And it was so refreshing to see, because I just feel like in this election, I've just seen one person compromise their standards, and they have this list of reasons why. And, in the end, it's like, bull crap. You should not compromise your standards. You should not appease something that is evil and bad. And so I thought that was just so refreshing to see in this movie. So there you go. It looks like we're having a good discussion in the chat room. I love it. So it is brutal. Hacksaw Ridge. It is hard to watch, especially the second half of the movie is tough. It's this intense battle scene. You do see, just an example. You see people that are missing limbs. You see blood. You see explosions. You see stuff that is kind of hard to watch. And so, that's up to you if you can handle that. But I think if you can, there's actually a lot of inspiration in the film. And so it's, I think, worth seeing if you can handle that kind of war violence. But it's probably the most violent war movie I've seen since Saving Private Ryan. But you really feel like you're there on the ground with these troops. It works as far as getting you invested. And when he finally does what he does, it's very thrilling, and you're cheering. And I thought all the acting was good. My only nitpick would be that I thought Andrew Garfield's accent was a little cheesy. It didn't really work for me, but I thought Teresa Palmer was really good. I thought that Vince Vaughn was really good. And so, it's definitely a very, very good film. So that is Hacksaw Ridge for you. And then another movie that I got to see in the theaters was Batman: Return of the Caped Crusaders. And this was a lot of fun. It's oddly enough my favorite Batman movie of the year. This is the fourth Batman movie. This is the fourth movie I've seen with Batman in it this year. And ironically, this is the one I liked the most. It had Adam West. It had Burt Ward, the old cast from the 1966 show. And I just thought it was funny. I thought it was charming. I liked sort of the rogue villains that you had. I thought that the animation was pretty darn good. I just enjoyed it from start to finish, and I didn't think that it was making fun of Batman. I thought it was kind of had some satire, social satire that I enjoyed, and some satire about superheroes and comic books and things like that, and traditional sort of values. I thought was amusing. Like there's a scene where they're about to jaywalk, and Batman says, "Oh, jaywalk, that's very dangerous. We have to use the crosswalk." And Things like that I thought were very funny. So and they get the sort of the details right from the old show. If you like the old show, like they have everything labeled and they have the bam pow wow, kind of thing that you see in the old show. So it looks like movie reviews to go says those guys want to do another TV series with it, which I'm totally a fan of. I guess the next movie is going to have William Shatner as Two-Face, which sounds awesome to me. I just thought it was so entertaining. It was so well done, and it just wasn't as full of itself as most of the Batman movies are. It was actually just kind of fun. So there you go. And so that is Batman: Return of the Cape Crusaders. I definitely recommend it if you get a chance to see it. I think you'll really like it. So moving on, let's see here. What else did I see? I got to see as part of this classics series. What? Tom Blakeney says Batman. Oh yeah. Batman and Star Trek crossover confirmed. It's true. What do you know? James T. Kirk is in Batman. Okay, so I got to see as part of this classic series. So I saw Lawrence of Arabia, and then I saw Sound of Music, and then I saw Gone with the Wind. And Gone with the Wind is a movie that I have a complicated relationship with. Gone with the Wind is my grandmother's favorite movie. It's one I have very fond memories of watching with her, and I actually have a collection of dolls based on Gone with the Wind. And I do love certain things about it. I mean, just the epic nature of it is great. The score is great. The costumes are great. The performances are really good for the most part, and it's definitely an epic classic Hollywood film. And so it's sorry, Tom says, Reese says, I still haven't seen Batman v Superman. And Tom says, that means you're living your life very well. that makes me think of I read I saw a survey where they said they were polling voters, and it said one of the things was haven't heard of, and there was 1% of the people haven't heard of Donald Trump. I'm like, how is that possible? Like, I want to live that person's life. That was so funny to me. Anyway, but yeah, Gone with the Wind. It's a classic, but it does have I don't like the way the sort of the Sweet Magnolia idealized version of the South. The idea that the North and the Yankees came in and ruined their great way of life and their great way of being these wonderful slave holders and yeah, it kind of, that part of it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And the depictions of the African Americans, the slaves, is tough. I particularly hate the I don't know nothing about birth and no babies, Scarlet. Like that one's terrible. And and there's also sort of a marital rape scene, which is not good. And so there's a lot of stuff that I'm uncomfortable with, but I still think the good outweigh the bad, and it's definitely worth seeing if you haven't ever seen Gone with the Wind. Definitely. And it was really cool to see on the big screen just for the spectacle of it. And I do think of my grandma. So there you go. So there you go. Okay. The next movie that I saw is, let's see here. I saw The Shining on the big screen. I don't know if any of you have seen The Shining, but this movie, I had been a long time since I'd seen it, and it was so enjoyable. I really, really liked it. It's so intense, and I like the way that it dared to have different endings that aren't explained. It doesn't explain everything. It doesn't have to tie everything up into a bow. It doesn't have to answer every question. You see images that are never explained. You see things, even the ending image of the movie doesn't really make sense, but I kind of liked that. I thought it was cool, and it's sort of a puzzle, and you can kind of get different things out of it every time you watch it. And the cinematography is incredible. The performances are incredible. And just this idea of sort of this cabin fever, and it just gets more and more sort of crazy as it goes along is really good. And let's see, movie reviews 2 go says we need peace on earth and everyone to watch Batman v Superman. Yeah, there you go. I think you at least got to watch it and just so you have an opinion, I guess. So good luck on your test, Reese. Thanks for joining the chat. Okay. So yeah, The Shining, it's great on every level. I think it's one of the best horror films. I don't know what Stephen King is smoking when he says he thought it was terrible and he didn't like it. I think he's just too tied in to his I think he's just too tied into his work, to be objective. So I don't know. It's just, to me, it's just a great movie. So to each his own, I guess. But I'm going to pretend I'm just going to pretend you didn't say that. It's just such an epic movie. I feel like everyone needs to just give it a shot. And if you like it or you don't like it, I didn't hate it as much as you, Tom. I thought it had some good things, but it's not a good movie. Okay. So then continuing on, the last movie, I guess, have I done all of them? The last movie that I saw in October was Young Frankenstein. I got to see for the first time. I'd never seen it. I got to see it in the theater, and this was hilarious. It was so funny. And I like Mel Brooks for the most part, but honestly, I think this movie is funnier than The Producers. I think it's funnier than Spaceballs. It was so funny. Like, I was just laughing throughout. I thought that Madeline Kahn was hilarious. I thought that Cloris Leachman was hilarious. And they do such a good job, like, taking a joke and then continuing it throughout the whole film. Like, they never forget about it. Like, for instance, there's one at the very beginning when you first meet the Cloris Leachman character, the horses go crazy. They're like neighing like crazy. And you think that they'd sort of forget about that by the end of the movie, but no, every single time that character, the horses neigh, and just little details like that are funny. And there's one scene where where the monster played by Peter Boyle in incredible performance is getting served soup by this blind man played by Gene Hackman. Hilarious. I was laughing so hard that whole scene. So it is naughty at times. It definitely earns the R rating, so it's not for everybody, but I really laughed a lot, and it's beautifully made. The black and white photography, all the sets, and then Gene Wilder is wonderful. He wrote it. And so you just get this sense of sort of investment and, just funny things like him being Dr. Frankenstein. Not Frankenstein, Frankenstein. It's just really funny, I thought. It made me laugh a lot. And so I enjoyed seeing that on the big screen and seeing it for the first time because I did think it was very funny. And I did a review on my blog, and you got to check that out if you want. So that is my month of October. So pretty crazy. Deepwater Horizon, Miss Hokusai, The Dressmaker, Long Way North, Lawrence of Arabia, Denial, Huntsman Winter's War, Blinky Bill the Movie, Hacksaw Ridge, Sound of Music, Batman, Return of the Caped Crusaders, The Shining, Gone with the Wind, and Young Frankenstein. Whew. That is a lot of variety and a lot of good movies, really. As far as my best of the month, I mean, it's hard because all of those classics are so good. I think the best new movie I saw was Hacksaw Ridge. And the best classic, oh my gosh. I think Lawrence of Arabia is my favorite. Or Sound of Music. Tide, maybe. I don't know. They're all so good. The worst movie that I saw in October has to definitely be Huntsman Winter's War. That was the worst movie I saw in October. So the worst one I saw at the theater was Denial. I didn't care for it. I didn't like it. I know it has decent Rotten Tomatoes reviews, but I didn't think it was very good. So we have very exciting things coming up in November. We have this weekend alone. I'm going to be posting reviews of Trolls and Doctor Strange, and I'm really excited because Friday night I am going to be doing a podcast with one of my Twitter friends at How to Love Comics. He's actually from Australia, so it's going to be Saturday morning for him. It's going to be Friday night for me, and we are going to dive into the character of Doctor Strange. And he knows all about the character and has read all the comics, and I've read as many as I could, and so I'm very much excited for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then we have this next couple of weeks is going to be fun. If you like seeing me review bad movies, then you'll enjoy the Disney Canon series. Because this week we have Brother Bear, next week we have Home on the Range, and then the week after that we have Chicken Little. So you'll enjoy that. And then we have this month for Family Movie Night, we are doing my viewer requests, which should be a lot of fun. This next Sunday is going to be Return to Oz, which I haven't watched since I was a little girl. Really didn't like it then, so it's going to be very interesting to revisit it as an adult and see what I think. So I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, so just a lot of fun stuff happening on the channel. We got Friday Fives that are continuing, and Movie Mondays, and Obscure Animation for November. I am going to be doing Fantastic Planet, the sci-fi classic that is really, really, really wonderful. So that will be fun. And yeah, that is basically everything I have to say. And thanks so much for all your support. And I look forward to November. We've got Moana coming up in November and Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. So it's going to be a great month. Plus, I'm doing NaNoWriMo, which is the National Novel Writing Challenge. So life is busy for me, but I'm really excited about it. And so thanks so much. And I hope you all have a great day and great rest of your week. And we'll talk to you later. Bye.